If you've been following the Ravens this season, you know there's been a constant debate swirling around the offensive line. On paper, the team has talent. Myles Garrett on defense looks unstoppable, and the front unit has potential. But watching them, week after week, it's impossible to ignore that something is off. The line has struggled at times. And it's been the elephant in the room for everyone covering the team, for every fan analyzing the game, and even for casual observers who catch a Ravens matchup and immediately notice protection breaking down. And yet, despite all of this, the message from John Harbaugh has been consistent: he's not making changes, and he stands by the current group. This conversation has been recurring all season, every week. Reporters ask the same question: will the offensive line see an adjustment? And every week, the answer circles back to the same point. The 5 players out there are the ones playing the best, and that's who will start. On Monday, during a press conference, Harbaugh doubled down on this stance in a way that many viewed as, frankly, dismissive. When asked whether he'd seen enough progress to avoid changes, his response boiled down to a straightforward assertion that the best 5 players are the ones taking the field. There was no elaborate explanation, no nuance. Just a confident declaration that this unit is performing well. But for anyone who has spent time watching these games, the reality on the field doesn't quite match that description. The stats, the film, the moments where players are thrown off balance or fail to execute, they all tell a different story. It's not about criticizing individual players relentlessly or creating drama. It's about acknowledging a fact: the offensive line has been inconsistent, and there are clear opportunities to improve. Saying that the line is playing pretty darn good doesn't line up with the visual evidence. Fans see it, analysts see it. Anyone who follows the Ravens week to week can point out plays where protection collapses, lanes are missed, and quarterbacks are forced to scramble more than they should. The numbers provide some clarity, too. Looking at run blocking grades, you see a range across the line, and Drew Voorhees has had a solid showing, with a grade just above 70. While others like Daniel Fowl have struggled, scoring in the mid-50s. Pass protection tells an even sharper story. Ronnie Stanley at 33 and Fowl at 23 reveal a significant vulnerability. These numbers aren't abstract, they translate to the field. They explain why Lamar Jackson is constantly moving in the pocket, why plays break down, and why there's frustration when opportunities are missed. Some players like Voorhees and Tyra Linderbaugh hold their own, but others are being overmatched, and the team's overall cohesion suffers. As a result, it's also worth noting that this isn't just about the raw talent of the starters. Depth has been an issue, particularly in the guard positions. Losing Patrick McCary was a major blow, and the offseason didn't bring the reinforcements needed to fully stabilize this unit. So while Harbaugh insists the best 5 are on the field, one has to question whether those 5 truly represent the strongest possible lineup to protect Lamar Jackson and keep the offense functioning at its highest level. Every hit Jackson takes is another risk, and at this point in the season, Week 12, the sample size is large enough to see trends, patterns, and recurring struggles. This isn't a single bad game. This is a consistent theme. Throughout the season, the offensive line has shown flashes, moments of solid play where schemes come together and players execute as intended. But those moments are overshadowed by inconsistencies that can't be ignored. Daniel Fowl has repeatedly been a weak link. Rosenard has regressed in pass protection, and even veterans like Ronnie Stanley have had rough weeks. This creates a situation where Jackson's mobility, athleticism, and improvisational skill are masking underlying problems. And while it's incredible to witness a quarterback overcome poor protection to make things happen, it isn't a sustainable strategy. The cumulative impact on his health, confidence, and overall offensive rhythm is significant. Harbaugh's defense of the offensive line often frames the situation as one of belief in continuity. He emphasizes competition, effort, and the importance of putting a unit out there that fights for every play. Those are admirable traits, and maintaining chemistry and experience on the line is important. But there's a point where faith in a unit must meet reality on the field, when protection is failing repeatedly, when pressures lead to broken plays, when injuries and near misses pile up. Adjustments are necessary. The team has the option to shuffle players, try different combinations, and potentially mitigate risks. History even shows that the Ravens have done this successfully before, in high-pressure situations during championship runs, when offensive line tweaks were necessary to protect key players and keep drives alive. Right now, however, There's a sense of stubbornness. The approach seems to be, if it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll deal with the consequences. That mindset puts enormous pressure on Jackson. As one of the league's most dynamic quarterbacks, he's already forced to make extraordinary plays under normal circumstances when the line fails to provide even a basic level of protection. He's left to improvise, to absorb hits, and to carry more than his fair share of the game's weight. And while Jackson is exceptional, arguably the best in the league at extending plays, and making something out of nothing, relying on that ability week after week is asking too much. It's unfair, and it's dangerous, both for the offense and for the player himself. Even with the defensive units performing at elite levels, keeping the team competitive, the offense cannot rely solely on heroics. Eventually, the opposition gets tougher. Playoff opponents will exploit these gaps, applying pressure and forcing errors that could cost games. And yet, despite all of the warning signs, despite the evidence from film and metrics, and despite the repeated discussions among analysts and fans, no major changes have been made. Harbaugh's doubling down has effectively locked in the current lineup, and the broader debate continues. Is loyalty and continuity worth more than adjustments that could protect the quarterback and improve the offense? At the heart of it all is Lamar Jackson, a player whose talent, competitiveness, and leadership are unmatched. Observers have questioned his demeanor, suggesting that frustration or hesitancy is creeping into his play. Critics ask if injuries are affecting him, pointing to hamstring issues, knee concerns, and the subtle signs that he's not fully at 100%. But those who know Jackson well, who understand his mindset and his expectations, recognize that his drive for perfection is relentless. When plays fail or opportunities are missed, the frustration isn't with teammates, it's with himself. His competitiveness is extreme, and he demands excellence from every part of the offense, even when circumstances make it difficult to achieve. Jackson remains a positive presence on the field, constantly encouraging teammates, guiding positioning, and striving to maximize performance. His reaction to adversity is not timidness, as some suggest, but an intensity that fuels him to find solutions even under pressure. And yet, the persistent weaknesses of the offensive line make this a monumental challenge. Every game, Jackson adapts, extends plays, and attempts to cover gaps created by inconsistent protection. And while it's remarkable to watch, it's unsustainable. The team's approach to the offensive line, the refusal to make substantial adjustments, raises legitimate concerns about health, performance, and the ability to maintain a competitive edge down the stretch and into the postseason. Moving into the next phase of the conversation, the focus naturally shifts to Lamar Jackson's resilience and how much the offensive line or lack thereof impacts his performance week after week. You watch Jackson navigate a collapsing pocket, evade blitzes, and still manage to create big plays. It's mesmerizing, really, because you're witnessing a quarterback operate at the absolute peak of his abilities while constantly compensating for weaknesses in protection. But at the same time, it's concerning. There's only so much a player can absorb before it starts affecting not just their gameplay, but their physical health and long-term career. And that's the point so many fans and analysts have been circling. The Ravens are asking Jackson to perform miracles on a weekly basis, and that's not a sustainable strategy. After the latest game against Cleveland, former NFL running back Damon Harris voiced concerns that echoed what a lot of fans were already thinking. He questioned Jackson's demeanor on the field, noting moments where the quarterback appeared hesitant, frustrated, and even somewhat constrained. Harris pointed out that Jackson wasn't extending plays as aggressively as he might have in previous seasons and suggested that injuries, particularly the lingering hamstring issues and knee concerns, might be influencing his decision-making. He observed the visible signs of frustration every time Jackson returned to the sideline, highlighting how even an elite player can be affected when protection consistently breaks down. The truth is, though, that Jackson's mindset is misunderstood when viewed solely through these snapshots. Jackson is one of the most competitive athletes in professional football. He sets extraordinarily high standards for himself, and when plays don't work out, he internalizes that failure, regardless of whether it's due to a missed block, a tight coverage, or a defensive stunt that's impossible to read. To the casual observer, this intensity might appear as hesitancy or frustration, but it's actually a hallmark of his leadership. Jackson is constantly thinking, adjusting, and trying to elevate the players around him, even when he's under immense pressure. His reactions are a reflection of accountability, not defeatism. That said, the offensive line struggles make this accountability much heavier to bear. A quarterback like Jackson can mask flaws in protection to a degree. He can extend plays, make defenders miss, and create opportunities out of nothing. But the cumulative effect of repeated hits and constant pressure is real. The inconsistency of players like Daniel Fowl and Rosenard has been glaring this season. When they falter, it's not just one or two missed assignments. It's a domino effect that disrupts the entire rhythm of the offense. Voorhees and Linderbaugh hold their ground in many situations, but the gaps created elsewhere put enormous strain on Jackson. He's already extraordinary at improvisation, yet he shouldn't be forced to improvise consistently to sustain offensive momentum. What's particularly frustrating from a team perspective is the missed opportunities to tweak or adjust. The Ravens have the ability to shuffle players, make substitutions, or even experiment with different configurations to find a combination that better protects Jackson. Historically, we've seen this work in championship runs. When a line wasn't performing optimally, adjustments were made to stabilize the offense and give the quarterback the support needed. But this season, those adjustments haven't happened. The decision to double down on the current lineup seems rooted in continuity and trust, but it risks the health of a player who is not only the team's most valuable asset but also the engine of the offense. Looking at Jackson's current playstyle, it's clear he's adapting to compensate for these gaps. He's not just running, he's calculating, he's avoiding damage, and he's finding creative solutions under duress. But the concern isn't whether he can continue to do this, it's whether he should have to, and for how long. The NFL season is a marathon. And when postseason opponents bring elite pass rushers, mismatches in the offensive line become glaring liabilities. Denver, New England, and other playoff-bound defenses have the talent and preparation to exploit these weaknesses consistently. If adjustments aren't made before that stage, the team risks being outmatched despite having an elite quarterback. Another element to consider is the morale and confidence of the offensive line itself. Players perform better when they know they're part of a system that adapts, evaluates, and makes changes as necessary. When a struggling unit is told week after week that they are performing pretty darn good, despite evidence to the contrary, it creates an environment where complacency can creep in, or at least where the incentive to fully correct mistakes is muted. Harbaugh's intention may be to show faith in his players, but the optics of doubling down on a line that is underperforming do little to inspire confidence among fans, commentators, and even within the roster. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. A low hum of uncertainty has traveled through the league this morning, as whispers about ROQUAN Smith's future with the Baltimore Ravens grow louder by the minute. According to people close to the situation, the star linebacker was reportedly spotted in what appeared to be a private conversation with representatives from another franchise, fueling speculation that something far bigger may be brewing beneath the surface. While nothing has been confirmed, the sighting alone has already set off a wave of chatter that the Ravens' locker room may be entering a turbulent phase. Sources who claim to have witnessed the exchange describe it as intense and businesslike, suggesting that the meeting wasn't a casual encounter. The discussion supposedly revolved around details that sounded suspiciously like contractual frameworks, sending fans and analysts into a frenzy inside Baltimore's facility. The atmosphere is said to be tense. Some players reportedly looked unsettled as rumors spread through the halls, with murmurs that leadership may be struggling to keep everything steady. ROQUAN Smith, known for his disciplined presence and commanding on-field voice, is hardly the type to let drama linger around him. Yet this latest twist has created exactly that, a cloud of unpredictability over a roster that has prided itself on unity. Anonymous insiders hint that certain team members feel blindsided, unsure whether this is a strategic move, a negotiation tactic, or the first sign of a major shift. The Ravens, as expected, have offered no official comment, leaving fans to read between every line and gesture. Some believe this is nothing more than off-season noise, but others are convinced something seismic could be on the horizon. Whether this moment marks a temporary ripple or the beginning of a storm, one thing is undeniable: the buzz surrounding ROQUAN Smith has become impossible to ignore. And the rest of the league is watching closely to see what falls next. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.